For buyers and sellers, legal marijuana is seen as a positive breakthrough, of course. For law enforcement, the picture is a bit cloudier because it ushers in an uncertain new world that brings some new challenges as well.
The worries, of course, the exposure to young people and the situation on the road. It's on, the countdown to retail cannabis. According to the Cannabis Control Commission, July is the target, and while businesses are gearing up to sell, police departments in Massachusetts are bracing for a whole new world.
There's a lot to that.
Walpole Police Chief John Carmichael serves on the Cannabis Advisory Panel, which creates recommendations for the Cannabis Control Commission, the group currently working on regulations. Carmichael traveled to Colorado to learn how legalized pot impacted that state.
When I went out there, it was within 5 minutes I smelled marijuana. You know, that was my first impression when I got there. I don't think we want that in Massachusetts.
One of Carmichael's main concerns is kids.
I do fear for our younger generation because this drug is becoming normalized, it's becoming commercialized, and it's going to be out there. It's going to be in their face, and it's going to be something that they're going to maybe be influenced to try and to use. And I know that that already happens, but the problem is we don't need it to increase, and we don't need more kids to be using that drug at earlier ages.
And it's not just kids. He's concerned about adults' ability to handle marijuana.
I would say, first of all, not to do it. Second of all, if they're going to, then I would say take it slow. We're talking about concentrates that people may not be used to around here because that trend hasn't been around a long time, or edibles, which may or may not have certain serving sizes or amounts of THC in that person's not used to.
And that, Carmichael says, leads to concerns about drivers being high behind the wheel. Jeff Larison is the Director of Highway Safety for the state of Massachusetts.
That's the big challenge with cannabis. There's no chemical test, and there's not one that's on the horizon that's going to be able to say, in the same way we do with alcohol, you know, blow in and we'll tell you whether you're impaired. Police need to make a judgment call. There's no breathalyzer for marijuana. There's a lot of activity in terms of training police officers to be able to identify somebody who's impaired. We also train what are called drug recognition experts to be able to come in and make a determination about what level of impairment that is so that we actually have a good, solid scientific base for that.
Larison says driving under the influence of marijuana is not like driving drunk.
Cannabis and alcohol don't have the same impairment. That's just a reality of it. People react differently to it than they do with alcohol, and different people react differently to cannabis. But one of the things that seems to be more and more clear is that when you combine the two, that is more problematic. It's something that we want to be aware of and something we want to try to message people to think about before they get into the vehicle.
With cannabis cafes still a possibility in the near future, Larison sees potential problems when inexperienced drivers hit the road.
Talk about cannabis cafes, a lot of these products that people will be using, they won't hit for 60 to 90 minutes. So you could be at a cafe and take something in, or at home and take something in, and it won't come to you as affecting you until quite some time later.
Yet Larison expects pot users to be responsible.
Any marijuana tonight? Do that, some of that, sir. Okay.
While police are preparing for a new norm.
I don't want this to be a sky is falling kind of thing. The sky is not falling in this. This is something that we can manage. People have been drinking in Massachusetts for a long time, and the roads are generally safe. We do have problems with people who are drinking and driving and crashing and getting hurt and killing others. What we just want to be able to do is to be able to say there are some circumstances where people who are using cannabis shouldn't get behind the wheel.
So still some issues to manage. And one thing that concerns users of medical marijuana is whether or not there'll be enough products available to them once recreational marijuana becomes legalized.
Yeah, actually, the commission actually ruled that medical dispensaries that want to sell recreational marijuana actually have to set aside 35% of their medical marijuana, so these patients are taken care of.
So there will be enough supply. That is Chronicle for tonight. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Anthony Everett.
And I'm Shana Seymour. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow night.